the internet. My name is Ravyn Sharkey, and welcome to Cooking with Ravyn. I wanted to start cataloging my recipes, or the way that I cook, because we just got to a new home, and I've had a lot of time to try out new things, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to share them. Today we're going to be cooking baking. We're going to be baking some bread, but more specifically we're going to be making a bread dough. I use this bread dough for loaves, French bread, hot dog buns, hamburger buns, dinner rolls, bagels, and pretzels. I use it for pretty much everything. It's nice and soft, and it's like a not so sourdough starter. So with that, let us begin. So as I mentioned before, this is a sourdough recipe. The reason is because I do ferment the flour, but I use yeast. And the whole point of sourdough is you're not supposed to use yeast because it's supposed to just take the bacteria that's already in flour naturally and use that to ferment it, to get it to bubble. That's where you get that sour taste, which is also the same process that they do for making like alcohol and all that. But I use yeast because, one, I've never had success making my own sourdough starter. We'll get there. But in my time of stress, this is a much easier method. And I don't need to feed it like it's a baby. I make it once, and then I use it the next day or whenever I remember to make it. So if you like recipes, okay, this is mine. Boop, there. I don't use whole wheat flour for this, but you can if you would like to get that extra bit of health. I just use all-purpose flour because it's what I have in my kitchen the majority of the time. Also, for this specific video, I will be doubling everything that is listed here, for the simple fact that I like to make 2 loaves at a time. So with that being said, let's go ahead and make the starter. Okay, now to start off, you're going to want to grab your yeast. This is Active Yeast. They do have instant. Quite frankly, I don't know the difference. So Active Yeast, we're going to take 1 teaspoon, don't do a tablespoon, you'll regret it, teaspoon into a big container. It can be plastic, it can be glass. It's going to rise about halfway. If you choose to make like a quarter batch, or not quarter, quadruple, you know, you want to make a lot, it's going to get all the way up here. I've done it before. Didn't have success. I just recommend doubling. Don't go overboard. So 1 teaspoon, and then you're gonna want to get some hot, warm water. It shouldn't burn your hand. And you're gonna want 1 cup. So just until it's warm, you know, like you're taking a nice soothing bath. You just go ahead and pour that in there. Okay, after you get the yeast and the water, you're going to want to get 2 cups of really any kind of flour you want. I mentioned I use all-purpose. You can use whole wheat. You can use bread flour, which has more gluten content. I'll be using that later, but not right now. I'm going to use the cheap stuff because, quite frankly, this starter doesn't matter. We're going to be adding more yeast later on in the recipe. So just for now. Okay, so 2 cups of flour. Now, okay, a lot of people are going to tell you to get a kitchen scale, and I don't own one. Not because I have, not had the opportunity to get one. It's because I'm stubborn and am rebelling against it. Here's my thought process. Give it a stir. If the people who, you know, would make bread from just water and flour, they didn't have no kitchen skill. Why the heck should I? I just feel like they're like gatekeeping baking. I realize baking is very much a science, but also I think it's a skill. And if you learn what things feel like and what they should look like and smell like, you don't need a kitchen scale. Sometimes you're just not going to get good results, and sometimes you are, but the more you do it, the more you can avoid having mistakes. Believe me, I've tried baking this, like, I've tried different recipes for the course of like 2 years, and I've used, let's see, I used fresh ground flour. I never bought a kitchen scale because I'm stubborn, but I used a bread maker, and I've tried stuff without like sourdough starter, and it was never really the recipe's fault. It was my fault because I just didn't know what it needed to feel like or how long it needed to cook. So I'm not here to teach you how to be brilliant. I'm just here to show you what works for me and some tips that might get it to work for you. Okay, so I have this mixed here. Let me bring this a little closer. Okay, this is very dense. Come on, there you go. This is dense, okay? This is not pleasant to move. It's gonna be like that. So the reason why we do it like that is because the recipe is not an all be all. You're gonna need to modify it a little bit. So go ahead and get yourself a little bit more water. It doesn't need to be a cup. Definitely do not put another cup. No more cup. Just a little bit. I'm not going to tell you how much. That's for you to figure out. So just a little bit at a time, because if you add more water than you're supposed to, you're going to need to add more flour. Just push and pull. Find what works. So I just added a little bit of water. I don't know how much. I'm just going to mix it up a little bit more. You bring it back in. I have this little dangly thing on my camera. It's cute. Okay, this is still too dense, but as you can see, it has a bit more stringiness to it. But it's still too dense. So we're gonna just add a little bit more. I still have not used it all. Keep on mixing. It should be the consistency of like a putty. No, like a slime. You know, like all those kids like slime. That's the consistency you want. So everything needs to be moist, but it still needs to be a big glob. We're not looking for like a pudding. You don't want pudding. Pudding is too liquidy. You don't want Play-Doh because, I don't know, Play-Doh is like dry, but it's still a dough ball. That's not what you want. You want like slime. Something that doesn't necessarily look appealing, but it smells good. All right, so this is what I want to have. Let me hold you right. Let me hold it good. Okay. Come on, Mr. Camera. There we go. For the most part. This is what we want. Okay, this has push and pull. You see how it goes back? This is like a slime. If I touched this, it would stick to my hand. And it pulls away from the edges. If this was liquid, it wouldn't do that. It would just freaking fall right back. This is what you want. So, once you have that, you are going to put a cap on it. Okay, I just got the one that came with the jar, but I did, oh no. Okay, if that happens, just don't use it. Just put this on top. I don't twist it on because I'm not trying to seal off the air. I just want it to be covered so that like no dust gets in. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it on my refrigerator and I'm gonna leave it for the rest of the day. My dog is whining, please ignore her. Tomorrow, or like in a couple hours, it should be up to here. But you can cook it when it's there, or you don't have to. But regardless, I will see you when I decide to bake, and I'll show you what the results look like. Hello. It is now day 2 of the bread making process. Now, like I mentioned, you don't have to bake the day after. You can choose to bake your bread 5 days later. It doesn't really matter. But just make sure that you have a good chunk of the day prepped away to do this, because you do not want to leave the house when you are in the baking steps. So, with that being said, I did take a picture last night of the bread about 3 hours after I had shown what it looked like before. And then after the 3 hours passed, when it got up to here, I'll show that video later. But this is what it looks like now. This is a day after. As you can see, there are little bubbles inside. It has deflated, but that's fine because we're adding more yeast to this dough. Also, you can see all of this moisture inside. Again, it was fermenting. I don't know if you remember doing this in like 3rd grade science class, where you would like get a little water bottle and then your teacher would put a little balloon on top, and then you would pour this like mysterious element into the water bottle and it would make your balloon expand. It's the same deal. It created hot air and now we got condensation. So, let's continue. I did write down the recipe for you on what I will be doing. Again, we are doubling this because I want to bake 2 loaves. Okay, let's get started. Also, it needs to be done in this order. So, down, down. You want to put the liquid in the bottom first because the yeast, little baby, has a tendency to want to grab onto the first thing it touches. And if the first thing it touches is another liquid, it might not get included into the flour by the time you put that in. And it's just like not as effective. It's very strange. I don't know. Sometimes I've forgotten to put the yeast all together, and I regretted that. Okay, so 1 cup of milk for a double batch. Go ahead and get started here. Now I want to addendum something I said yesterday. I was real hating on those kitchen scales. Look, okay, we're not hating. Y'all just perfect, and I respect that. I like making mistakes. So, 1 cup of milk into a large bowl. I'm going to use a KitchenAid with a dough whisk. You don't need this, okay? You don't gotta go out and buy a bunch of fancy stuff to make some bread, okay? You're just gonna have to put in a little extra work. By extra work, I mean you're going to need to hand knead more than I am. Okay, so get them big muscles and get in there. So, 1 cup milk. And then 2 tablespoons of sugar. I used to just kind of take a spoon and dump some in until it looked good. I did that with everything, yeast included. I think it comes out better when you actually measure it, but okay. 2 tablespoons. 3 teaspoons of salt. Sorry, I had to do some math there. I need more salt than I have right now. What did I say? 3 teaspoons? 3 teaspoons. Okay. I use kosher salt. You use whatever you want to. There's a lot of fancy salts out there in the world. I like kosher salt because I like to, when I cook, use one of these dealies. It's so fun. You know, it spins. And just like pinch it instead. It makes me feel fancy. So that's why I do that. Plus, it's very hard to over season something when you're pinching rather than like sprinkling and you don't actually know how many you have in your hand. Okay. We added salt. Now you want 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm not going to measure this because I happen to make butter from home because it'll be a little extra. But I don't know, it's fun. So this, I'm just going to show you. This looks like about a tablespoon to me. So we're going to add 1 more. Now I'm going to melt this. Now you have the microwave in the background. While that is going, the next thing you're going to need is your starter. Again, we did 2 cups of starter in here, so you're going to just need everything. Do not go and sit there and measure this. Don't do that. 1, you're going to hate having to clean up this afterwards. This stuff is, like I mentioned yesterday, putty, or in other words, plaster. Do not touch it on things you do not want to get sticky, because once this hardens, it's ridiculous to get off. So, okay, there goes the butter. I like to take a spatula, put this in. Okay, my cat's yelling. It's a very large jar. It goes ever so slowly. And once you are done adding this starter in, you're gonna want to put this, like, oh god, okay, no, we're done. You're gonna want to fill this up with water ASAP, because if you don't, cleaning this is not gonna be your friend, like I mentioned earlier. So, however much you can get out, that's fine. That looks good to me. I'm going to fill this with water so I don't have to struggle later. Okay. While that is filling, next thing you're going to want is 4 cups of flour. I've tried all-purpose. It does not work as good. It does not rise. It'll make you bread, okay? It'll make bread. But I want bread that's going to get to the height of like a sandwich. I don't want bread that looks like banana bread. It's like this big. I want a sandwich. So that's why I use bread flour. The whole point behind bread flour is that it has more gluten content in it. I'm not quite sure the science behind that. I know that it has to do with what they keep in the flour and what they take out during the milling process. If you do have all-purpose flour and you do not want to go out and get this, I've heard that adding baking powder helps. Adding it into the flour. If I was going to do it, I would probably add like a tablespoon per cup. So that sounds like a lot, and I have not tried this. So if you want to try it, let me know how that works. But that's just probably what I would do. All right, so 4 cups of this, 4 cups of bread flour. When I add this, okay, you like how I keep pausing in between to give you more information? I don't add all of the 4 cups at once. The reason is because, once again, we're not measuring in grams. So when you are grabbing this flour, you're not going to get the same amount of weight in this cup every single time, because flour is so airy or it's really dense. It like just depends. So this is my 3rd cup, I hope, added. Before I add in the 4th cup, I'm only gonna add like half of it. So 3.5 cups essentially. Because that last half I'm gonna add back in when I need it. Need literally. So that my dough isn't dense by the time I get to that point. I'd rather have less flour in there now and add it back in later than it be way too dense and try to add liquid, because that is very difficult to do. The ball is already formed and it's like, there's really no cavities in there. So it soaking up liquid is very hard to do. So I just recommend adding less flour now and adding in the rest once we have this in a basic mix. So I don't have a half cup, so that's about how much I'm gonna put in. I do have a half cup, I'm not getting it out to clean it. And then 1 teaspoon of yeast. I know on my recipe card it says 1 teaspoon, and I told you to double everything. I lied. Just add 1 teaspoon. Or add 2. Oh, it's not gonna make a difference. Okay. So, look inside the bowl. This is what we're working with right now. Okay, so now you're just going to take all of this and put it into your stand mixer, or get out a metal whisk. Don't do plastic, you won't have fun. Or even like, shoot, I'd recommend one of these. Because something about whisks in dough, not a good time. Use something that is going to have a lot of maneuverability, okay? Sorry, stiff. We want stiff, because if this is flimsy, you're not gonna do anything. Okay, let's put it in. Stand mixer. I'm not going to keep you here for this whole process, but essentially what you are looking for is for this to create a kind of tacky dough. I'll show you the moment I take it out of the stand mixer. Give me just a second. Fun fact while we're waiting for this to mix, y'all saw how the yeast looked in the jar. Okay, it was cute, real bubbly, kind of stringy on the top because it deflated. Okay, I've had this starter, my mock-up sourdough starter from no yeast, okay, in the fridge for probably like 2 months. It's maybe been like 2 minutes. That's already done. Okay. Do you see this black liquid? Isn't that fun? Isn't that so fun? It's not going to kill you. Actually, this smells like alcohol. Straight up. Big time. Ridiculous word, but they call this black stuff on this top hooch. Not kidding. And it's essentially, the sourdough starter is hungry. This is what I'm talking about when I say these are babies. I have not fed this thing in months because I discovered I like this bread recipe better and kind of forgot about this one. So I'm not going to cook with this. Okay, I'm showing it to you because if you do happen to leave the starter that we made together for like over a week, you might get this black stuff on top, and I do not want you to be afraid. Okay, I was afraid. I thought I created a monster. Take a spoon, mix it up. Okay, you don't even need to pour it out. Pour it out if you want to. I understand it's a little weird looking, but just keep using what you have, so long as there's not mold in it, no, white flaky spots. Mix it back up, add some more water, and the same amount of flour, feeding it. And then you can use it right then. Or you can wait 30 minutes, let it get bubbly, and then continue. So I put that back in my fridge like I'm gonna use it. Alright. So here we are. Your dough is done mixing. Can't believe it. Let's take it out. It did not take long. I'm not kidding when I say this was in here for maybe 2 minutes. Ugh. What's the dough on that? What is the dough on that? Are we stuck? There we go. Okay, I had it locked. Okay, go ahead and take off all of that dough. Okay. Let's bring you in. I'm gonna touch it too. Oh, and I need to see what I'm doing. Flip the camera. Okay. So, in here is what we have. Look at me touch. You see? This is on me. It is sticky. But it's still wet. Okay, this is not, it's not done. It needs more flour. This is the point we want it at. So I'm going to take it out of the bowl. And let's get you a new angle. Okay, welcome back. You are lower now. I'm gonna take some flour, and at this point, no, I lied. No, you still want bread flour. Don't do what I did. Get your bread flour. You just used it. It shouldn't be gone. We still have half a cup to add. So, take a cup. I don't care what size it is. And you're not going to just shove half a cup on your counter. Don't do that. Do it at like a small amount at a time. This might not equal out to being half a cup. Once again, we give and we take. It's a little, push and pull. I don't know the exact measurements for this. This is probably like a quarter, maybe a third of flour on here. But it's not really relevant because this is all based on feel. No more numbers. We're sick of those. Okay. Well, alright, you gotta see this. Pull out. Alright, here we go. This is dough. You see that? It's freaking sticky. Look, it pops up. Alright, but I have it laying on a bed of flour. And this is important because if you don't, it's going to stick to your countertop. And once again, once it dries, you're not gonna have a good time. So put the flour down. And you're just gonna kind of mess with it. It's kind of fun to touch. I enjoy. And we're gonna learn the technique of kneading. Okay, I'll do it from this angle and then I'll bring you in closer in just a moment. So, once the dough ball is coated in flour, you are going to hold on top, push in with your, oh God, wrist. There we go. Push in with your wrist, right? You know, like you give someone a really good massage. Okay, and then what I do is I just pick it up and flip it another way. And then I do the same thing. So pick up, flip, push in again. This is the whole process for me. I'm sure there's probably like a very masterful technique. This is what I do. So, like you're rowing a boat, you are pushing your weight forward into the dough. And we're just going to keep kneading for a little bit until you start feeling that tackiness again. So the flour is going to absorb into the dough ball. And if you need some more flour, kind of move some around from the edges and keep on going. And once you get to a point to where you feel like it's pretty tacky, it's getting a little sticky again, it doesn't take too long. Then you're going to want to add some more flour. The point you're going to want to stop adding flour is when it starts becoming difficult to knead. So I'll film this whole thing, but I'll probably cut out quite a bit because you don't need to watch me do this for 10 minutes because that's probably how long it'll take. It'll probably take 5 to 10 minutes to do this. But I don't know. I mean, I don't go to the gym because it's not my lifestyle. I just like doing stuff around the house and getting outside and going in nature. I feel like I'm staring at a concrete wall, which I probably am, at the gym. That's not very fun. Besides, when I'm done with this, I make everybody happy. Because what? My muscles, they gotta work out because this freaking hurts sometimes. Which is why I don't quadruple it anymore. Because what? Double this dough ball trying to do this? No, that was a regret. So we do double. We do not quadruple. Yeah, and then the muscles will be happy, and then people can eat my bread, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so good. I'll be like, yeah, I gotta work out. Y'all should try. Okay. I think you already noticed I did add in the rest of the so-called half a cup, so probably a quarter cup at a time, but you do not need to measure. This is all based on feel. And I want to show you and maneuver it so that you can see what I'm talking about. let me bring you in closer so you can see the kneading process, just in case you are confused. Okay. Look at that. You see my hands? Nice. Okay. I didn't take my ring off. We can regret that later. Okay. So, once again, ball. Push. Okay. You're using your hand. You see that? I use kind of the outside. And then flip. And just do it again. And you can just stay there like that while I finish this. Or you can do it with me. That's fun too. Something that I learned later on, after I've made this mistake many times, is if you happen to end up with a batch of dough that you kind of forget about, like let's pretend that you didn't actually stay home all day and then you left, and now the dough's been sitting there for like over 10 hours and it doesn't want to rise anymore. There's like peak times for this bread to go, because this bread's got a nap time. Okay, if you don't bake it by the time it goes to sleep, you're not getting it to wake up. Just bake a focaccia. It's fun. You literally just stick whatever crazy contraption you've created out of flour and water in a cake pan, and then you bake it. Oh, you get to poke it too, like little holes, like you're a kid playing with little slimes. Do that, add some oil and whatever spices feel good, and then you got focaccia. And everyone loves focaccia. Everyone thinks it's so fancy. No, it's just your mistake that you stuck in a cake pan. Oh, okay, so I think that this is probably pretty good. It's getting a little harder to do. It's still a little tacky. Okay, you can see it has a little pickup here, meaning that it's a little sticky. Plus you can probably hear it, maybe. Something I've seen is people will take their dough, they will go like this. And if you hold it up to the light, okay, can I do this with the camera? You just take a little bit. You should be able to see like the reflection of the light in this dough. It's not working. Look, there's no light right here. The camera doesn't have a flash. But you can. It's called the window pane test. You're essentially trying to create the ability to see through the dough. And if you can do that, then your dough's ready. If you can't do that, which I don't necessarily think this dough is passing the window pane test. It does every now and then, but sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. It either means if you didn't pass the window pane test and you don't see the light through your dough, it means you either need to keep on kneading or you've over kneaded. I don't know. I don't know if you can over knead. So just keep on going. I'll just clean up my counter here so I don't got no flour left over. It's kind of how I like to end it off. And once we are finished with the dough and it's tacky again, it doesn't have any more flour on it, okay, we're gonna get a bowl. Okay, welcome back. Dough, you have it. It's fun to toss. I love it. It's lots of fun. This is not pizza dough, okay? I suppose you could use it for pizza and bake it right now, but it's going to rise up and it's not gonna be very pizza-like. You know, it's not gonna have that nice crispy crust on the end. It's going to have lots of air bubbles because this is meant for loaves. It's meant to rise. The reason you let it rise is you let it develop those air bubbles inside of the dough, which makes it nice and airy and not dense. This is the difference between bread that people made without no yeast or doing a sourdough process and bread that you get from like Wonder, aka Wonder Bread. There's air bubbles. That's what makes it soft. So that's why you let it rise. All right. I'm getting out a bowl, a big bowl. I like using this one. It's probably the biggest bowl I have. I've seen people say don't let it rise in a metal bowl. It's up to you. Okay, goodness. I'm going to take some oil. Okay, I have avocado oil. Doesn't matter. You can take some butter and spread that in here too. I just coat the bowl. Put this in the bowl. I kind of flip it around so that gets that oil on all sides. That helps it stay moist while it's doing this. And I'm gonna take some aluminum foil and wrap this. I used to use tea towels. I have some tea towels, but I found that when I use tea towels, I managed to still get some oxygen into this bowl. Okay, I'm trying to prevent that almost so that this bread stays moist. When I would use a tea towel, it made the top of the bread hard. And like I didn't even bake it yet. It just did the first rise. So I use the aluminum foil to avoid that, because if it gets hard on the top, then honest, your bread might be jacked up and it's time to make focaccia. And then focaccia's good, so don't you worry. Okay, we're done here. You're going to put this up high somewhere, either on top of your fridge. I have an air fryer that I like to stick it on top of. And just keep an eye on it. My bowl happens to be see-through, so I'll be able to tell when this is ready to go, because you want it to be doubled in size. So this dough is going to get almost all the way up to the top here. That's how I know it will be ready to go. So I will see you then. Hello, and welcome back. It's been like 3 or 4 hours since I last saw you. Our dough has been rising. You remember the little dough we had before. Okay. The top should feel very soft. It is no longer sticky. This is not sticky. It's like a pillow. And now do yourself a favor, and punch it. You'll see it deflate ever so slowly. We got to take this out of this bowl and move it into the pans we plan on baking them in. So, go ahead and turn it over. Get that out. Make sure your surface is floured. Once again, we don't want no problems with sticky business. We have our dough once again. Make sure she gets a little bit of flour on her. They have pronouns now, I guess. Give it a little roll on the flour. You're just trying to get that like wetness off. Not for really any reason. But you know, just so it doesn't stick to the counter. You're gonna give her a quick little knead. Okay, she don't need a lot. Just, look, I did it maybe once. And now I am going to cut her. Now, like I mentioned, this is a double batch. I mentioned this many, many times. So I am not going to use all of this bread. Now I'm going to take a knife, a cheap knife, and part her. This is where probably having a kitchen scale would come in handy if I was to have one. But I don't. So I'm just gonna look what it briefly looks like the middle and go ahead and cut her down. It's probably better knives to use, but it don't really matter. Okay, split her in half. Okay. 2 dough balls. If I have one that happens to look a little bit bigger than the other, which I'm gonna say is this one, I'm going to save this for my loaf that I plan on making. Let's talk about pans. So if you plan on making bread, like sandwich bread, I recommend getting some sort of metal pan. This specific one is called a Pullman pan. I bought these because they have extra long sides. and they have holes in the bottom to help it come out after it's done baking. I have used glass pans before, and I find that glass pans are just best left for making like banana bread, zucchini bread, fruit, dessert-ish kind of bread. For my sandwich bread, I'm going to want to use a metal pan because I feel like it heats up your bread more evenly inside. Plus, I like this one specifically, but go down to Goodwill and just go get a pan. There are so many bread pans at Goodwill. Go get a bread pan. Okay. So, I'm going to start with this one first. Okay, here's my dough ball. So, all I'm going to do is just kind of roll her out just a little bit. I'm not putting pressure. Just a little bit. Okay. Till I get a log. And now I'm going to take her. I'm just going to pinch all the sides into the back. So I'm grabbing and pulling behind. Once again. Okay. Good. No, sorry, this is backwards. Okay, grab, pull behind. That's what I'm doing. So that I kind of get this nice, pretty surface on the front. It does not matter what the back looks like. If I go ahead and pinch it, pinch the back so it all stays together. Okay. Back is done. Give one more roll to even out that back. And then she's ready to go. Take your pan, quick spray with whatever cooking de-sticker you got, pop her in there. I know it's been 4 hours already, but I told you earlier, you're not going to want to leave home because this takes forever. So this is probably going to take another 2 hours. I'm looking for her to get up to the top, or at least fairly close. So I'm going to cover her with some aluminum foil. I usually just use what I have left over from my bowl. And I will put her in the same place I had the bowl, which is on top of my air fryer. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Okay. Next thing, I have this very fun pan because I plan on making some sub rolls, like for sub sandwiches. We've been eating a lot of sandwiches lately, so I want to make sure we got some more loaves for that. So this pan I got off Amazon. Look up French bread pan or baguette pan and you'll find something like this. You don't need this. Use a just cookie tray and it'll do the same job. I just like this because it kind of helps hold its shape. And I can bake multiple at one time. I don't have to super worry about them touching each other. Okay, so I'm actually going to take this and break this down one more time. This is going to raise a lot. So I'm actually going to cut this one more time because I don't want my sub sandwiches to be that big. As I mentioned before, once you're at this stage, you can really just decide what kind of shaped bread you want to make. So if you want to make hot dog buns, shoot. Make yourself a hot dog bun. Stick it on like that. For hot dog buns, I recommend actually cutting it down one more because these are going to get big. They're going to double in size and your hot dogs probably are not that big, but they might be. I'm not judging. Better hot dog, or bigger hot dog, the better, right? So once you have it all set, sorry. You're gonna go ahead and pop it down in your pan. This one I don't really grease because it has holes in it. Oh, holes. Okay. And I don't pinch it in the back because these are just a big old log. I'm not really concerned about how the top looks on them. Now, if I wanted to make a hamburger bun, for example, pinch off some, roll it in my hand like Play-Doh, and then do the pinching method. You're going to want to do the pinching method for this, or else your hamburger buns are going to be misshapen. Nah, that's not enough for hamburger. Hamburger bun, I think. Yeah, this is about how much I would get for a hamburger bun. Pinch in the back. Make it all nice and pretty on the top. Give her a little twist. That's how I do it. And then she's fairly shaped right. But I'm not making hamburger buns. I'm making sub rolls. So put it all back together. It's not gonna bug it. Just kind of pinch it all back in. Make sure that we're all melded again. Okay, cool. Nice thing about dough is that it's fairly forgiving for the most part, as long as I'm not taking it too seriously. Okay. And that's about how long I'll make her. I need to stop using pronouns. It's weird. I wasn't doing that earlier. And then there we go. So 2 little rolls, and then my bread. If you are going to make pretzels and bagels, there is an extra step to the process that I'm not doing right now because I'm not making them. But you do need to boil the dough before you bake. It still needs to rise for the second time, but there's a boiling process. It's not just in water. There's baking soda and stuff. I'll do that another time. Right now I'm just making loaves. No bagels. Okay. Yeah, this was a quick step. So make sure you cover your bread. Bring it back down. Hello. Make sure you cover your bread. And then I'm just gonna get a sheet of aluminum and just like gently cover this. And I'll see you in 2 hours. Hello. I took a nap. I don't know why I'm getting more tired throughout this video. Probably because I started doing this at 1 o'clock and now it is 8. If I were you, I'd recommend starting a little earlier than 1. Anyways, it's time. It's been 2 hours. Look how nice he looks. Oh, that's a boy. Look how nice it looks, the bread. Also, these are little sub rolls. Okay, they're not the most even things in the world, but they look good. So what I like to do is I already have my oven set to 375. That's the temp you want. 375. Before you pop anything in, we are going to take a little bit of the oil, quick coat on top of both. And I actually like to bake these separate. You can bake them at the same time, but I used to have difficulty with it not wanting to cook all the way through, and it like burning on the top because there was something else in the oven. And when there's something else in the oven, things take more time, but because it was taking more time, then the top was a little bit more brown. So I do things one at a time. I'm going to score the top of my sub rolls, which I'm going to start with because I want that bread dough to get as tall as I can get it. So we'll start with these. Okay, I just take a little knife, give them a little cut on the top. For no particular reason other than that, I like how it looks. Pop these in, 375 for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I am back. It's been 20 minutes. Let's check on our sub rolls. There's a dog. Let's continue. So this is vaguely what it's gonna look like. Yes, they kind of melded together, but that's okay. So something to help you in your success of creating the perfect bread is get yourself a chopstick or something that's long. Okay, don't use a toothpick, that's not long enough. Something that's long and just stick into the bread. It needs to come out clean. What you don't want is streaky lines from dough. I used to have this happen to me all the time trying to bake bread any other way. Just freaking the middle would be raw. And it was ridiculous. Okay. So this is out. I'm just going to go ahead and take my knife, separate these two. Now, can I separate? No. Now it is. Okay. And then they look great. Yay. All right. And now let's stick in the mother bread. The beauty. And this is going to go in for 25 minutes. I'll see you back then later. Welcome back for hopefully the final time tonight. It has been 25 minutes for our bread loaf. And it is time to get it. I'm going to take 2 for this because I'm going to grab from both sides so I do not drop. Let's bring it in. She looking good. This might be one of the better ones. Flip camera. Alright, look at her. Stop. I'm sorry, I keep using the pronouns. It's a little weird, this freaking bread. Alright, look at this. She will not be... Stop. The bread will not be hard when you take it out. I am going to do a little poke test. If you don't want to ruin your bread, you don't need to do this, but I just want to ensure it's done. Okay, as you can see, we're looking good. Bread. Turning it off. And just for reference, okay, you heard how hard this bread was, right? Pretty hard bread. This is the bread we baked earlier. It's nice and soft. And because we want it to start cooling. The longer you leave it in here, yes, it'll be easier to get out, but it's going to start steaming in on itself, and it's going to get moist, and we don't want moist bread. So I take a knife, I run it all the way across the edges, just gently making sure I can cut all around. Okay. And then I'll just take my 2 pot holders, flip it over. Theoretically, this should just come out. That is hot. There. And there we go. Put this pan away. Alright, look at our bread. Look at it. Look at this loaf. You made that. Yeah, you baked this bread. It only took you all day. But look at it. I'll come back to you tomorrow. But for the rest of the night, what you're going to do is you're just going to leave this on the counter. Okay, if it's not late for you, I would recommend putting this into either like a paper bag or a plastic Ziploc, which is what I will be doing, or you can even just stick it in your bread box, whatever feels good. But you want to let this cool down fully, so do not put it in a bag right now, or you will have mushy bread and you'll be sad. Wait at least like an hour before you put this in the bread, before you put this in the bag. If you put it in to the bag and later on you start to see moisture building up in the bag, just open the bag and leave the bread in there and then shut it later when it stops. I want to mention that if you pull out your chopstick and the chopstick has dough on it, okay, it's sticky, you can feel it. It's white, it's not cute little golden brown crumbs. If that's the case, put the bread back in for like 5 more minutes. If this is still a problem after 5 minutes, put like aluminum foil on top of your bread pan and just keep it in there and check it every 5 minutes until it kind of stops, and poke in different places. You don't want the middle of your bread to have fallen. It is very sad. It's not happy. I haven't had this specific version of my bread do that yet, but I just want you to know that if it does happen to you, it's not the end of the world. Stick aluminum foil on it and keep it in there until it stops being doughy. Also, we just finished baking this bread. It's lovely. Try to resist cutting into it until at least like 10, 20 minutes. Because if you cut into it right now, there's a possibility you are going to push down on all those lovely air bubbles that you made, all that hard work kneading, and then your bread is just gonna kind of like be a little mushy and soggy in the part that you cut. Okay, say I just cut this straight in the middle. The two halves of the inside that are going to show to you, they're going to be pretty moist. Okay, this is a hot bread. It's still got a lot of moisture in it. You want it to go away. If I cut into it later on, the rest of the bread will be fine, but I'm just letting you know that it might be a little moist if you cut into it right now. It's the same deal with the steak. If you're like cooking a steak, Gordon Ramsay says it all the time, let that baby rest. She's not done cooking yet. Give her a second, let her cool. Okay? Alright, now I think I'm done. See you tomorrow, I'm going to bed. Good morning. It's 2 days later. I went golfing yesterday, so I did not film a video. But I just wanted to show you the bread after it has been in the bag that I told you I was going to put it in that night. And we'll cut it open together. And we'll have our creation. We have it. So, ignore the flaky bits, but yeah. This is our loaf of bread. I'm going to make toast with it this morning, so I'll get to show you what it looks like toasted. Yeah, let's give it a little cut. Right down the middle, just to make sure that we didn't mess up. There we go. Now this concave part probably was just because there was a large bubble there, similar to like sourdough. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, but the fact of the matter is it's not doughy. This is air. Look at you can see it. And it smells really good. So I'm gonna go toast this. Oh, also that buns I made, they're gone. I already ate them. But those were phenomenal. So, I'll show you this once it's toasted. Welcome. Bread is now toasted. So, here it is. Here, you want to hear the crunch? You want to hear the crunch action? Was that appealing at all? I don't know. Anyways, this is all I have to share with you. I hope that you, come on. Look, it's not Ravyn's house unless I'm setting the fire alarm off. I cook on cast irons. Oh. Okay, well, good to continue. As I was saying, I hope you had a wonderful time baking your bread. I hope to whoever watches this, whether it be me or my friends or some random people, I just hope that you learn to forgive yourself when you are baking. It is a science, but you don't need to be scientific to make something wonderful. All you need is a little bit of time, a lot of effort, and willing to try again. Also, like, at the end of the day, if you made something that perhaps wasn't up to your standards, it's probably good for breadcrumbs. Okay, just break it all up and stick it in the oven, dry it out at 250. Make some stuffing with it, make croutons, or do that focaccia like I mentioned, which also at the dough stage, stick it in, poke it down, add oil, whatever seasonings, and stick it in the oven 375 for maybe like 15-20 minutes. There are ways to enjoy what you have made, even if it is not what you thought the outcome would be. So, With that, I shall say goodbye. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. I can answer to the best of my ability. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Farewell.